5 minutes.
Thanks, Concora. I think in some ways it's absolutely incredible that we're here discussing this issue because on the one hand it is an issue which affects such a small number of children, but on the other, if it was implemented, would be absolutely life transforming for those children. So it is incredible actually that it hasn't been addressed before now. And we all take cognizance of the fact that an 18 or 24-month delay in the life of a child is one that cannot be replaced later on. I believe that everybody in every party knows that this anomaly exists and would like it to be addressed, but that's not the point. The point this morning is what's in front of us and the government's response going to address the concerns that parents have. Now, I just want to briefly read a letter from a constituent of mine. And she says, I'm a 38-year-old mother of a 2-year-old boy that has Down syndrome. I never thought in a million years I'd find myself writing to a Member of Parliament. Then again, I never thought I'd end up being the privileged mother of a boy with special needs. Silly me, thinking, sure, I'm sure we'll get plenty of help. Little did I know. I was naive enough to think that, sure, isn't every child's basic right to get a proper education to reach their full potential? I intend to send my son to a mainstream school where his siblings attend and also other children within our community, but I really fear that he will be lost in the system. And that's the reality now for these children when they do not automatically qualify for extra resource teaching hours. It is quite simple, that's the nub of it. And she went on to say, this discrimination and inequality needs to be addressed with urgency. I remember someone once said to us, oh, you're going to have to fight for everything. Do we honestly have to fight for something so basic? Gosh, we really do have our work cut out for us, don't we? Now, the issue here in front of us is, are we going to ensure that at least on this issue, the parents of children with Down syndrome won't have their work cut out for them? Now, I think it was a great move by Deputy McGrath to draft this legislation, and it was a very good twist of fortune, if you like, that it was picked from the lotto. Because the reality is that's the only mechanism we have as opposition TDs to try and bring in necessary reform. And that's what Deputy McGrath has attempted to do here, and I'm delighted that it was picked. But having said that, it's absolutely ridiculous that you have to table legislation to get this addressed. It doesn't need it. All it needs is the signature of Minister Quinn to put Down syndrome in the low incidence category. Now, the Minister spent most of his time talking about the overall changes in special needs education which his department is considering. That's fine. Off you go, do your work, come back to us when you're ready, but in the meantime, don't leave Down syndrome children behind. If there's overall changes, make them overall for everybody. Now, that's the nub of this. I honestly thought I was going to be getting up here today saying, welcoming the fact that the government have decided to support the bill and saying that the next step was going to be to keep the pressure on. But I have to say, reading between the lines in the Minister's speech, I am now not convinced at all. Now I see it as a stunt to get the government backbenchers off your back. Pretend you're accepting it, go along with it and kick it into committee. And I'm honestly not saying that to have a go at anybody, and I'm not saying it lightly. I'm saying it because that's the reality of this, because parents like the woman who wrote to me are going to have to wait. Minister Quinn said yesterday it's going to be 2015. There are children out there now who are due to start in September with Down syndrome. In order to qualify, they must apply by March next month. Now, this legislation, unless some miracle that never happened here before is going to happen, won't be passed by then. So what I'd like to ask the Minister, are you going to tell your department to deal with this and in the interim put Down syndrome in the low incidence category? Meanwhile, and the last point I'll make is, Minister, it was indicated earlier that the Minister for Education is named as a respondent in a High Court case next Wednesday in a case taken by 2 parents on precisely this issue. Now, if you're really going to address this issue, and if you really are shifting your policy with Down syndrome, will you instruct your legal counsel to withdraw from those proceedings and resolve the issues with the parents involved? Or are you going to tie up the state in an expensive legal challenge with monies which could be used on the children who are going to start in September? Now, I'm delighted that the government isn't opposing this, but if it's going to mean anything, The test will be what happens next, and what happens next Wednesday in the High Court.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Daly. Please.